The Thursday edition of the Romeo program coming to you, New York City. If you don't think the anti-Asian sentiment isn't at its high point right now, you haven't been paying attention because, well, let's talk about the suspicious shooting in Atlanta, the disturbing shooting in which one of the Johns walked into the massage parlor and killed 6 or 7 or 8 of these Asian workers there that gave him a happy ending at one time. I guess they didn't receive a very happy ending at the other end of a gun. But I will say the Asian undertones, if you will, the anti-Asian undertones in that one is questionable. Because this man may have just been a lunatic, an unhinged man that should have never had a gun in his possession in the first place. We'll talk about the gun issue as it relates to this story in a moment. But let me get on track with this, what I want to say, because when you're talking about, folks, you're talking about a former president, namely Donald Trump, who continued with the Asian slurs while President Kung flu, if you will, the China virus, so on and so forth. And right now you're seeing the repercussions of these terrible slurs by our former White House occupant. And let me tell you, it's disturbing. A man standing on a platform the other day in a downtown subway station was attacked and racial slurs were hurled in his direction. He retaliated by just saying, "I did nothing, leave me alone." And just the fact that he opened his mouth was enough for these 2 hoodlums to give the poor man a beating. I heard about that one. I also heard in San Francisco. Now, you're talking about a nationwide epidemic. You're not just talking about New York City. I tend to center around New York City from time to time because that's my domain. So I'm kind of a little more partial to this side of the world, if you will. But let's talk nationwide. San Francisco, you saw an Uber driver, an Asian Uber driver, driving an unhinged individual in the back seat, screaming at him, saying that she had COVID, purposely coughing in the poor man's face, and along with, of course, the obligatory Asian slurs that go along with such an attack. I could sit here and name about 20 more, but I don't want to bore you or disgust you. But as we speak, the climate is rather frightening if you happen to be of the Asian persuasion. Now, that entails a great deal of people. You're talking about a huge part of the world where many have migrated to these shores, and they excel for the most part. When I say they, I'm just referring to those that are not of the same persuasion as myself. I hope you don't cancel me out there when I use these terms, they and those people and that type of thing. It's not meant in a derogatory fashion. It's just meant to explain myself. I hope people can separate that because, you know, when you check your words doing this kind of a job, you censor yourself all the time. That's when you lose track of reality as a host. That's when you start to feel that you can't mention certain things, thus destroying the point you're trying to make. So hopefully I have an intelligent audience that can decipher what I mean and not go into what they think I'm saying when I'm really not saying any such thing, if you can follow what I just said. But, you know, I will tell you, I see it all the time. And like I said before, these people are good folks. They excel academically. They are a prize. They're driven. They have such culture and such decency And many times, and not in all cases, so I don't care to categorize, but sometimes you have to make a point. Many times they seem an easy target. They seem a bit meek at times because of that culture isn't exactly the aggressive culture of other persuasions. And they tend to be a little bit more, I dare use the word, subservient than most. Again, I got to watch what I say here. They're going to come and give me the hook. You know, you never know. But they're easy marks, easy targets. You know, the old lady standing on the subway platform, seemingly defenseless near the edge of the platform, is more likely to get pushed into the oncoming train than the big, strapping football player standing there, if you know what I mean. That's my comparison. The tone was set by the disgrace that we had to bear for 4 years. I don't care to remember his name, so I'm going to kind of refer to him as the aforementioned disgrace, if you don't mind. Can I do that? The disgrace of a president that continued to beat that drum. Sometimes in a roundabout fashion. You know, when someone speaks in a derogatory manner about another group, they sometimes cloak it in other language. You see, they won't come right out and say, whoa, those Asians, so-and-so, so on and so forth. No, that would be too honest. I'd rather have that, but that's not the way these people operate. They start to say silly things and they make silly jokes, the same way they do about my people. You know, the Italians were known to be thugs, gangsters, criminals, mobbed up, if you will. You understand how we're an easy mark. Well, just as we're an easy mark, the Asian American is an easy mark. And it is disgusting. And again, the incident in San Francisco, let's focus on that for a moment. Seems there was some lunatic in the back seat of an Uber, and the Uber driver was of Asian heritage. Seems that there was some sort of a misunderstanding, and this woman, I had heard a tape of it earlier today. I was mortified. I wasn't shocked, because I'm not shocked anymore at behavior, because I've seen it all. But I was mortified and angry at what I heard, because this woman in this, here's the word used properly, thug-like fashion, was just haranguing this man in the front seat of the car. She even went as far as to say, hey, I have the virus, and purposely coughed in this man's face. And the man, defending himself, when he heard all these slurs, said something to the effect that you have your nerve choosing me. You know nothing about my heritage. How dare you? Something like that. In essence, he fought back just a bit, which ordinarily many don't. He fought back just a bit. That was just the ignition for this woman to go on a tirade that would make, and the blue language and the despicable behavior by this woman would make a truck driver blush. It was typical, yet despicable. Because that's what we do in the United States, this great country of ours. I hear nothing but how great this country is by the right-wing zealots. Is this great? Is this something to be proud of? Was the president someone to be proud of when he hurled those racial slurs? And they were. You think that calling the deadly COVID virus the Kung Flu was not a racial slur cloaked in a joke? It certainly was. But more to the point, folks, I'm mortified by it. I have many people that I know, and that's very cliche, but many people that I know that are brilliant people, the nicest folks I've ever met in my life. I deal with so many of that heritage in my everyday life that I admire so much about that ethnicity and those ethnicities, I should say, because there are many of them. And that encompasses the Asian persuasion. And right down here at WPAT Studios, they're wonderful people there. My friend Young, my friend Poe, my friend Michael, who's there in the afternoon. All the folks down there have been nothing but kind to me. And when I see how they're being treated, it bothers me because I know how it is to be treated poorly or talked about poorly just because of your heritage. I'm not saying that I was terribly discriminated against at any point in my life. I can't say that with a straight face. No, you wouldn't know how straight my face was anyway. This is radio. Maybe I should lie a little bit. It might do me some good, right? I'm too damn honest. But I can't say that with a straight face, that I've been discriminated against and not given jobs or been attacked on the street for my ethnicity, because no one knows exactly what my ethnicity is should a stranger approach. But sometimes facial features and different distinct characteristics of certain groups kind of give it away. They can't mistake me for an African American man. They can't really mistake me for an Asian man. They won't mistake me for a Scandinavian woman, for instance, before you get too nutty about what I'm saying right now. So sometimes just your facial configuration, your features give you away. They tell the story. Thus, if you happen to be a member of that group, you're a target. Well, again, it happens time and time again. And who set it up? Who started this? All the conspiracy theorists out there. Oh, China. First of all, when you talk about Red China, as they like to say, has nothing to do with the folks who inhabit that country. You're talking about a despotic government that I have no use for because of their beliefs, because of their practices. But I'm not talking about the Chinese people, but indeed, former President Trump, I said the name, was. He was. And when you have that lofty position, you're sitting up on Pennsylvania Avenue, the Oval Office, you have a grave responsibility to act responsibly, somewhat responsibly, when you speak to the American people. That's why I never understood, folks. And tell me if you're with me. 646-492-2436. I never understood why he was admired so greatly. Why did we think that him saying whatever he felt in any way he chose to say it was such a positive reflection on the White House? Why was that something we desired? Why was that desirous to us after all the years of others who may have been not wonderful at their jobs, but at least had some semblance of decency? Why did we look at the former occupant of the White House before Uncle Joe walked in as someone to be admired? Because the culture in this country is just plain rotten. Rotten to the core. That's why. And our standards are down the drain. Everything we once were is gone. I was just watching. Do you remember You Bet Your Life, Groucho Marx? You remember that game show where actually the game itself was secondary? Groucho would have a couple of these contestants come on, and they were just ordinary folks. They would come on, they would talk for a good long time before even a question was asked. I was just watching it with my fiance, and it was interesting just to see. I was mentioning to her how we've gone down those proverbial tubes. I didn't quite put it that way. I'm more eloquent on the radio than what I said to her on the living room couch. But how we've gone down in a mere, and I say mere because it's not that long. It seems that when I say it, but it's not that long ago in the grand scheme of things. A mere 65 years ago, I was watching something from 1955. So what are we talking? 66 years ago. And I was watching an ordinary person with an ordinary job, man and a woman. They had no trouble deciphering who was a man and a woman back in those days. I know even that's up for grabs these days. We can't even identify the sexes these days. I do understand that, but they seem to have no trouble 65 years ago. Come out, speak to Groucho, and Groucho would ask simple questions. And, you're talking about a guy who was the quickest wit of his day. No one was his rival. He was just an expert at improvisation. Wonderful, wonderful wit. Maybe one of the greatest of all time, one of the geniuses that I remember watching as a child. There aren't too many to watch these days. And the ordinary person would just answer Groucho in such a snappy fashion. An older lady came on, very old for her day, 78 years old, when Groucho asked her age, and she said 78, everybody said, whoa. And they applauded because I assume in 1955, your lifespan was probably, I would say the average lifespan in 1955 was probably about 64, 65, 66, something like that. So to reach the age of 78 was quite an accomplishment. But this lady, he said, Miss Hackett, Groucho said, excuse me, Mrs. Hackett, may I ask you a question? And she says, Miss Hackett, please. And Groucho said, oh, I'm sorry. And the woman said, well, you may be, but I'm not. And I got such a kick out of that, but more to the point of what I'm trying to get across, folks. The ability to engage in conversation, the ability to, the vocabulary was so much broader back then. Then the other man that was with this woman, he worked in a bank or something, and he comes out and he's speaking such beautiful English. He's wording things unlike anything you'd hear today. He's just very, very surprisingly eloquent in talking to Groucho. Now, mind you, when these people are standing out there, they're in front of a vast audience. They have the lights and the crew and the pressure, and they still were at ease enough to engage in such a snappy conversation with Groucho. And I said to Cindy that, do you see this? You understand why I say that we've lost the battle? Why I tell you that this country isn't worth anything anymore? The culture. When I say the country, I may be misnaming it. It's more like the culture. When I say the culture isn't worth anything anymore, and where the standards are so far down, it's preposterous. When I say all these things, they call me a downer, and stay positive, Romeo. I don't want to hear your negative thoughts all the time. Keep it to yourself, Romeo. I can't. I remember when I was a kid, just a mere 50 years ago, how wonderful it was. I remember 1970, 75, when I was 10 and 15 years old, how simple it was. We didn't have these asinine devices in our hands 24 hours a day. We communicated the way it was meant to be. You actually talked to the person next to you. What a novel idea. Actually had a conversation. And that was just 40 years ago, 45 and 50. Nothing in the grand scheme, correct? So if I get negative on you, that's what sells anyway. So I do a good radio show in my negativism. Being my negative self entitles me to a good show, you know. So I do what I can, but that's where it all comes from, because I'm old enough now. I'm 60. I'm old enough now to remember when life was better. And, you know, I think every generation felt this way, but in my case, I'm right. In my case, it's true. Because, my goodness, if you see what's out there these days, forget that we're all masked. Forget that we're all incognito, in disguise. We can't discern one from the other. Forget that part. That part will make you sick in of itself. Forget that part. It just talked about the communication skills of the average idiot on the street. And you understand what I'm talking about. I said it last night, despicable. Remember the cartoon? Who used to say this? Was it Daffy Duck? This is despicable. Well, I laugh, but yet I cry. Or maybe I laugh because I'm drowning in my tears. Maybe I need to laugh to cover up my sorrow about this once great country down the tubes. Are you proud? And also, Cindy brought up to me, it was interesting. She said it would be interesting to do a show where you go out down on the street and you talk to the average Joe. I said, Cindy, it's done all the time. It's an embarrassment. It's an absolute embarrassment. You've seen the segment on Leno's show, the old Leno show, where they go, the man on the street, and Leno goes down there himself sometimes, and he would ask the simplest question that a 5-year-old used to be able to answer, the simplest question that you've ever wanted to hear, such as, when was the Revolutionary War fought? When did we gain our independence? One time he asked somebody, when was the War of 1812 fought? And the person didn't know that. That was it's shocking. And when I look at the average Joe on something like the Groucho Marx program, You Bet Your Life, of 60 years ago, whenever it was, I think it ran for a good long time. And I see how they carried on a beautiful conversation. They explained themselves so beautifully, and they matched barbs with the great Groucho Marx, and that's not easy to do. The average person on the street, the regular Joe, if you will, was put face to face with Groucho Marx and held their own. Held their own. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. Let's go to the text, 646-492-2436, 646-492-2436. All right, let's see what we have here. What we have here is a failure to communicate. No, we have a wonderful audience. Similar to the very old shows like What's My Line? I've Got a Secret to Tell the Truth. Simple yet entertaining. That's Rosemary from John's phone. Now, remember that. Write that down. That's my friend Rosemary. They call her Rosemarie on every other show, but I know her real name. Rosemary, but not from her phone, because her phone is antiquated. It's a flip phone, I hear, from John's phone. Okay, we got it. Juan from the Bronx. He checks in every night with the same claptrap. I'm kidding. Juan, what's happening? Do you wear your mask outside when you exercise? Of course not, John. John, of course not. I'm not a fool. If I'm running my 3, 4, 5 miles, and I'm doing my push-ups and my crunches, you think I'm gasping for breath with a stupid Lone Ranger mask around my mouth? That's not going to happen, John. It's funny. Jessica asked the same thing. Coincidentally, she says, do you wear a mask when in the gym? Basically the same thing. Well, I have to. I'm in New Jersey a great deal because my mother is not doing the best, but she's hanging in there. I don't want people to get afraid, but she's hanging in there. But I'm in New Jersey. I go to a gym in Patterson, New Jersey, and I see how the rules are very strict there. And of course, I do wear my mask, but when I train really hard, and I do it very intensely, and I'm in and out. When I get in there, and I have to keep the mask on, I feel like I'm going to kill myself. I feel like I'm going to start my set and never finish it. You understand? So I put the mask, I sneak it down the nostrils a little bit, and I take a few breaths of fresh air, if you can call it gym air, fresh air. And then I quietly put the mask back on because it's not natural. Jessica, sweetie, baby, it's not natural. This is no way to live. You can't train, weight train and cardiovascular train with a mask on. This is insane. And these dodo birds who are driving cars with a mask, what are they doing? I looked to the side there. I was going to an appointment, and we're waiting at the light. I turn, and what is this jerk next to me? He has a mask on. He has a mask. He has a hazmat suit. He's painted purple. I don't know what. Everything is just gone awry, folks. 646-492-2436. Okay, in our day, there was stickball, basketball, and music on the radio. Baseball cards, touch football on a Saturday morning, and supper time. I love the last one. I think that's Will. Is that Will from Brooklyn? I think it is. You didn't put your name, but I think I recognize the number. Yeah. Dinner was called supper. Rusty! My mother would call me because my nickname was Rusty when I was a kid. They thought I would have red hair like my father, but it turned brown. Rusty, come on in for supper. Come on in for supper, my mother would call. We didn't have dinner. We had supper. Very good. Stacy, in Staten Island. It's a perfect name if you're living in Staten Island. It's on the nose if you're living in Staten Island. Hello, Ralph. This is Stacy from Staten Island. I listen to your program every night. It's a beautiful program. Beautiful. Thanks, Stacy. I appreciate it very much. Jen. Oh, this is my friend Jen. Jen is fantastic. Jen Keats, great musician. She says, "Do you still sing?" Yeah, in the shower while masturbating. I'm kidding. Yeah, I don't know why do I say things like that? Get me thrown off the air. Yeah, I sing in the shower sometimes. When I sing in the shower, she says, she says, "Do you sing? And what do you sing?" What do I sing? Well, my mother, and I won't get into this frivolous stuff too long. We have some heavy topics to tackle tonight. My mother likes to sing. She's obsessed with Monday, so good to me. Da, da, the old mamas and papas. Oh, Monday, Monday. You know that one? She sings that. So I want to strangle her. I'm kidding. I can't take it. She either sings Monday, Monday or Aquarius from the Fifth Dimension. This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. She's into it. Jim in Brooklyn, New York. Whereabouts, Jim? I'm curious. Brooklyn is such a huge borough. Where are you, Jimbo? He says the New York Mets and the rest of baseball have agreed to actually fill the seats this year. Maybe not to capacity, but at least a quarter full. Isn't that great? I'm thrilled about that. I'm thrilled about that. Baseball is in spring training. They're coming back. It's wonderful. Are you kidding? I love you, Jim, but baseball has seen better days a long time ago. Do you know how they play this game these days? You know how they play the game of baseball these days? It's a home run, a walk, or a strikeout. All it is standing around waiting for these big monstrosities, these big steroid monsters. And don't think that these guys aren't still on the juice. Don't think for a minute that these guys aren't still imbibing all of this juice while trying to enhance their performance, because they certainly do. They do it all the time. But these big linebacker types that play shortstop in the major leagues these days, they're ridiculous. The whole game is terrible. And again, I hate to be a downer. Good old Debbie Downer I am, but I can't help it. The game that I knew used to be a guy going from first to third on a base hit to right field. Used to be a guy getting himself into scoring position by stealing second base. Used to be a guy from right field throwing out a runner at third, trying to go from first to third. Used to be a guy hit and run to the right side of the infield, so on and so forth. Now you get the home run, the walk, or the strikeout. Mainly the strikeout. That's what you see. You see these guys, they don't shake their head and walk back to the dugout dejected anymore after a strikeout either. They're quite happy to get back into the dugout to collect their $50 million. Do you think they care about performance when they're guaranteed 10 years at $300 million? Do you think a guy, once he signs that guaranteed contract, that most of these guys don't kind of let up a little bit? Why they're out so much with these injuries that never kept anybody out in the past? You see these guys creating these injuries. You don't even know what the hell would be wrong with these people. Where are they going with these injuries? These injuries, I don't even understand what they're all about. Nevertheless, I get off track here, but baseball in a nutshell, Jim. Baseball is not what it used to be. Dr. Gil Lederman, he's in the heart of Manhattan. Wonderful cancer doctor. The thing about Dr. Gil is that he's got something to offer that the others don't. And when I say the others, I'm talking about the big hospitals. I'm talking about the Sloan Kettering. I'm talking about all the great hospitals, and they are great, not detracting from their greatness. But Dr. Gil has radiosurgery that they don't. This is something that he pioneered, that he put into effect, that he brought to the New York City, the island of Manhattan, and he has been greatly successful since. Now, you dial 212-CHOICES. 212-CHOICES, you set yourself up an appointment, and you go to see Dr. Gil at 1384 Broadway between 38th and 39th, and you got it made. You don't have it made with your cancer. I feel for you. You don't have it made when you're diagnosed with colon or breast or prostate or brain, God forbid, or all the other maladies that one will come upon in one's life. But Dr. Gil may have a solution for you, at least get you in the right direction, at least possibly giving you an answer you haven't gotten, because many go to Dr. Gil for a second or third opinion. They go after they've been pretty much dejected with the care they've gotten in the past. Maybe they're not satisfied. Maybe you have a reoccurrence of your illness and you want to get a different perspective on it. Well, Dr. Gill will do that for you at 212 Choices. 212 Choices. The man is a wonderful guy, and he takes all major insurances and some of the minor ones, Medicaid and Medicare. I always forget that. I don't want to forget that anymore. Medicaid, Medicare, of course. Of course, you're good with that, of course. You're good to go with Medicaid, Medicare. I was told to emphasize that. 212 Choices. 212 Choices. Dr. Gil Liederman. The great thing is, when you go to the consultation, you just lay out what's been going on with your case. You have your tests in front of you. You have everything that you've gone through, the hospitals you've been to, the doctors you've seen. You lay that out for Dr. Gill. He evaluates the entire situation, and he moves forward, and it gives you new hope, a new light, if you will. 212 Choices, Dr. Gil Liederman. Now, I want to get healthy. I want to be like you, Romeo. You're so damn healthy. A1 Health Food. What? A1 Health Food. Say it again. A1 Health Food. Passaic, New Jersey. I'm so Jersey-centric for some reason. How did I ever get to be Bruce Springsteen, for God's sake? A1 Health Food. Fantastic store. Why is it fantastic? Ralph, why the hell is it fantastic? Because it's a mom-and-pop establishment. Because you go in there and you feel you're at home. You're not lost in a big box store. You're there in a small little neighborhood store serving the community. Joyce and Kevin, they're beautiful. A1. And if you don't want to go inside, they got a little thing called curbside. They'll bring out your items curbside. If you're still chicken shit to go inside, they'll bring those items out and they'll give them to you. You make the exchange of money and they'll give you the items curbside. It's a beautiful thing. Passaic, New Jersey. Organic meats. Organic produce. Little healthful snacks. The juice bar is fabulous. They'll whip up a wonderful vegetable combination for you. Healthful sandwiches. The works. And if you walk back, you saunter back. I think I go to the back of the store. I heard Romeo talk about this store. He said, in the back, they got some, what you call, Millie, come on back with me. They got some sort of discount items back here. Ooh, look at here. Look at here with my bow legs. They do. My horse is outside, but we can carry it. They got discount items. I haven't seen a horse in Passaic recently, but you never know. Discount items back there on that shelf. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. It's half price. This is a small store with half price. How do they do it? I have no idea. A1 Health Food. I'm all jacked up. Now, I'll get done with these commercials pretty quickly, but I have to give them full worth here. I have to give them their due here. Mid-City Gym. We were talking about gyms with Jessica before. Mid-City Gym. Now, when you walk into Mid-City, you say, Romeo sent me, and then the red carpet comes out. The music starts to play. They dress you with a robe and a scepter. You walk down the red carpet onto the bench press machine. They'll even do the workout for you. No, I'm kidding. You go and you're treated like a king. You really are. It's a beautiful thing. Why do I keep saying that? Free weights and beautiful high-tech machines. And the main objective when you go to Mid-City, guess what the main objective is, and guess what it should be at any gym? To get fit. You want to get fit. You don't want to fool around. The fastest way to get fit is to be in and out in the least amount of time as possible, and intensity is what counts. You got to be intense when you're training, and the whole setup at Mid-City is conducive to an intense workout. So you go in there, you work the cables, you work the machines, you work the barbells and dumbbells. By the way, you never have to wait. Rarely. I shouldn't say never. You never know, but you rarely have to wait because there are duplicates of everything. You got 3 or 4 duplicates of the 25-pounders, for instance. 3 or 4 duplicates of the 40-pound dumbbells. You know, you're Hercules. You're used to it. And the machines, you just wipe the sweat off of the previous customer, and then you get cracking. You know, after the previous workout person drenches the machine with sweat, you hold your nose, you bring your towel, you wipe. No, they're very sanitary there. I'm kidding. They're very, very sanitary. And you don't have that problem. Mid-City Gym, New York City. And again, they'll roll out the red carpet for you. I think it's $249 for 7 months. Don't hold me to it, but I think it is. I really do. Have you heard of an entity named Cardi B? Is there some sort of entity named Cardi B that I'm not aware of, but I've become aware of? I tend to neglect these type of topics because they're so inane, so silly, so stupid. But this bears mentioning. Now, it seems to me there's this very, very disturbed individual called Cardi B. I wonder what her real name is, by the way. I think I'm just going to call myself Ralphie R from now on. Does that sound snazzy? Can I get some more ratings with a stupid name like that? But it seems that Cardi B at the Grammys, something I haven't watched since Karen Carpenter took home the Grammy for Rainy Days and Mondays in 1972. It seems to me that she did some sort of a dry hump. Yeah, you heard right. A dry hump on the Grammy stage with another woman. Now, you say to me, don't you see those things at live sex shows or maybe at what they used to have a pornographic theater when they would have a live sex show, or don't you see those things at a strip bar or something like that? You don't usually see that on television for the whole nation to see. Well, yes, you do. In fact, you do. In 2021, it's normal fare. In fact, if you're not down with this, I love the jargon. I feel so cool. If you're not down with this, then you're nothing. You're not very hip. Because apparently, folks, this is what we want our young people, our young women especially. That's what I'm talking about. We want them to aspire to someone of the likes of Cardi B. We would like them to walk in the footsteps of Cardi B. Because she, if you haven't heard, maybe you haven't heard, I'll tell you, she's today's role model for the young ladies. She's everything that you want your daughter to be and more. You see, you do want to sexualize your young daughter far before her time until she becomes a deranged lunatic by the time she's 18. You do want to do that. That's the proper and good thing to do in 2021 America. You do understand how that works these days. Stay with me. Seems she did what they call can I say the word? I've said it before on the air, but I never said it in this context. Pussy, dance. Dance. And the reaction is mostly positive. Again, if you aspire to be a Cardi B, you're really, really, you're in lockstep with the feminist movement of 2021. In fact, when you get down and dirty on a Grammy stage, you somehow empower women across the country. You see, you act as salacious and disgustingly. What is the word? Disgustingly. I can't even think of because I have a few words in mind, but they're not very suitable for the air, and I may get tossed. I got to watch it because where we're working right now isn't exactly even 2 years ago. Things have changed drastically on radio, so I watch my P's and Q's, as they used to say. This is what we want now. It seems to me there's another entity, a young lady called Candace Owens, I think. She's to the right of Attila the Hun. I think she's a member of the John Birch Society. She challenged the wonderful Cardi B. She challenged her. And she speaks beautifully, by the way, except when she throws amazing and awesome, that type of thing. I can't expect the world from these young folks because they don't really have the education that I had or you had. You know, my demographic is over 60. They don't have the education that we had. But, you know, when I say she speaks well, she speaks better than most. She's no William F. Buckley, but she speaks better than most. She challenged her. And being a black woman, speaking to another black woman, it was okay. But you see, if you're a black woman, now I'm not a right-wing fanatic, far from it. I'm not a left-wing fanatic. I'm just me. Being a black woman of the conservative bent isn't necessarily in lockstep with what is really the woke thing to do in 2021. So Candace Owen is speaking relative sense. She said something to Cardi B. This is what we don't want our young women to aspire to. This is disgusting. She said, disgusting, lewd behavior glorified by a disgusting, lewd, I'm paraphrasing, disgusting, lewd media who eats it up with that proverbial knife and fork and glorifies something as down and dirty and disgusting as the display that Cardi B put on at the Grammys. She challenged her. And man, oh man, you heard of a cat fight, right? When they go at it tooth and nail, you know, men enjoy that kind of stuff. I don't like to see anybody fight, but these two are going back and forth, back and forth. And you know something? Candace Owens, although she's a pain in the ass, I never would watch her for 5 minutes. I don't need to be taught a lesson from a 23-year-old woman. You know, that's not exactly a lesson that I'm going to gain anything from, because no 23-year-old woman can teach me anything at this point. I'm thoroughly convinced. But I give her credit for standing up. But do you know that when statistics bear out that most are on the Cardi B side, the disgusting, sleazy side, and not identifying with the words of Candace Owens? That's America of 2021. Do you see that? That's what you want your daughter to become. That sleazebag on the stage, grinding. Anybody can do that. It doesn't take any talent to do. I can go on the stage and grind and give me a few bucks to do it. I have other talents, but grinding, I happen to be pretty good at it. Would I do it on the Grammy stage? Would anybody want to see it? I'm not so sure, but that's not the point. Anybody can do it. I heard somebody call and say, you know, that Cardi B is very talented. It's a shame she spends her life this way. Really? She's talented? In what way? In what way, pray tell? Her music, I use that term loosely, that word. Is that what you're talking about? Is that how talented she is? That noise that she creates? I don't care if she's black, white, brown. Who cares? I'm talking noise. Noise has no color. This is absurd, folks. This is sad. More than absurd, more than disgusting. Sad. If you're not sad, and you don't have a pulse, 646-492-2436. I'll be taking phone calls after the show, after I get fired. No, I'm kidding. After the show, and we'll talk for an hour if you want. I'll keep my phone open from 9 to 10 Eastern, and we'll talk for a while. If you'd like to get through, 646-492-2436. Let me end with this because I have a few things to say. I had a bunch of things, and I went a little long on a couple of these topics, and it was well worth it because those are the things I felt most passion for tonight. And that's what I do. I have a few topics in my head. I have no notes. I have a few things maybe jotted down of what I possibly want to say, but no notes. It's all extemporaneously done. I did go a little long, but let me tell you something. I was a bachelor. Do they say that word anymore? For so long. I was running around. I should talk about Cardi B because I was a little bit of a tramp in my own right. I was running around with a lot of women, and, I thought that was the way to go. And, of course, it was okay. It was good for the time. But, man, let me tell you something. When you find a woman to love, man, do you have it made. When you click with someone, when you have the capacity to really reach into another person's soul, if you will, and feel like one person, it's a beautiful thing. Now, is everything guaranteed to last forever? Of course not. You got to work at it. Because nothing is guaranteed, including your happiness. To be happy, they say, you have to work at it each and every day. Well, I found a wonderful woman, Cynthia, and, man, she's making me so happy. I'm going to get hitched. Yes, you heard right. You're going to hitch your horse to a post? No, I'm actually going to get married soon. I just wanted to pay homage to this wonderful person that's actually in my life. And through a hard time that I'm going through, and those who don't know, you don't have to know. It's, I've got a couple of burdens to bear. And during this time, to have somebody else with me in my court, on my team, in my heart, knowing my next move because she's come to know me so well, me knowing her next move, knowing each other so well. It's really a beautiful thing that, I thought I was in love about 3 or 4 times in my life, and I probably was for that time. And, your capacity for love changes as you grow older. But the closeness has never been so pronounced. And I just wanted to say that because I told her I would, but not only that, because she's really changed my life for the better. And that's something that I can't even put into words for you without getting so sappy that you may throw me off the air, You may say, I thought this guy was brash and bold. He's a little pussycat. Well, if you find somebody you love so much, they make you become a little pussycat sometimes. Anyway, thanks for being with me. And Romeo Radio, we do this thing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday at 8 o'clock, in case you don't know, at WPAT930am.com on your device that we talked about before. But use it for this, and it'll be well worth it for you. 9:30 a.m. on your radio dial. You can hear me in the mornings on Sirius Radio. You can also hear me. I'm going to do a little thing on ESPN this weekend with Felix De Jesus, a little little sports thing. You can see me on Twitch. I'm going to start doing that on a regular basis, I promise. YouTube, go to Romeo Radio and hear any past show you may have missed. What else am I forgetting now? Oh, Facebook, Ralph Romeo, RalphRomeo. You want to send me a letter? Give me a ticket for an aeroplane. Ain't got time to take a fast train. Lonely days are gone, I'm a-going home. My baby, she wrote me a letter. Ralph Romeo, Multicultural Radio, 40 Exchange Place, second floor, New York City, 10005. Once again, Ralph Romeo, Multicultural Radio, 40 Exchange Place, second floor, New York City, 10005. I enjoyed it. Make sure you tune in Sunday evening, the next time you'll see me. But in the meantime, I bet you haven't heard every show I've done. Go to that YouTube page. I don't promote it as much as I should. You'll find that there are not that many views because people don't even know that I'm there, because I'm not a guy that's trying to make a great deal of money off of it or anything like that. I just put it on there so folks that didn't hear my shows can hear them. I do all this stuff from the heart.